Hey. Hi. How are you? Very good.
Niko salama.
Niko salama.
Welcome to the one.
Okay. Oh, sawa. Thank you. Nautiga kungua heho. Ni haha. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
What's your name? Yeah. My usual. Mwathani agocwo murathimwo muno.
How was your week? Of course, my name is Mbugua and this is the 115 Talk Show. Hapa nakwambianga inaletwa na Epic Entertainment. Kwenye Epic Entertainment brings to you services like photography, videography, live streaming, page management, na zingine mingi nitaenda nikikwambianga as we go by. And welcome to today's show. And of course, siko peke yangu, niko na wageni. Najua unashinda hawa ni nani, but don't worry, with time tutakuja kuwajua. Welcome today Saturday, and nikiendelea before niwajulisha what we have for today. Josh, karibu sana.
Asante.
Najua hujai kuwa kwa Epic Entertainment tunafanya interview.
Sijakuwa nimefanya interview.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So I want you to tell people what your name is. We continue ndipo tuendelee tukifanya interview na wajue tunafanya na nani.
Okay, I am Kimingi Joshua, co-founder Epic Entertainment and today's host, and I'm pleased to be joined with a very great man. He's the National Organization of Peer Educators Director. He's also our loyal patron, and not to forget, he's a Limuru constituency member of parliament candidate. Bwana Philip, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Warm welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. First things first, what inspired you to run for the Limuru parliamentary seat?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for hosting me. I've always looked forward to being a guest for Epic Entertainment because we've done a few things together. And since I have youth in my heart, and I know that Epic Entertainment is youth-led and youth-managed, I really do feel honored to be your guest today. Why do I want to be the Member of Parliament for Limuru? It is because I grew up here. I was born here in Kamiredo village. I grew up in Kamiredo, just like any other boy would in our days. I went to Kamiredo Primary School and Limuru Town Primary, and I understand where we are coming from as the people of Limuru. I have seen the development challenges that we are having. And because God has been kind to me and enabled me to acquire the relevant education, the relevant experience in development, then I am convinced that I have the calling to bring about the desired change in Limuru. And not only the calling, I have the passion and the commitment, and that is why I'm asking the people of Limuru to embrace change, take up one of their own as their Member of Parliament, then we can have real change.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, thank you. If I may ask, do you have a role model when it comes to politics? Maybe you got inspired to be the message, I would like to be like this person once they get into politics.
Well, my father started by trying politics. One thing, my father was a trade unionist at Butter Factory here in Limuru.
Yeah.
So they were pushing for the rights of the workers, the labor rights of the workers, to get fair wages for fair work done. So that's the beginning. And then he contested for the councillorship here in Limuru. He didn't make it, but I believe I got that blood from him.
Okay.
But also I have role models internationally. I believe my greatest role model recently has been Barack Obama.
Oh,
Barack
wow.
Obama is not petty. He came from nowhere.
Yes.
His father was a Kenyan, and then the father went to the United States, and he got an opportunity to advance his education. Obama was the son of a white mother and a Kenyan father. And looking at the history of America, chances were minimal. In fact, there are some books that have been written about the struggles of black people in the United States. Like there is one called Up from Slavery. Up from Slavery, I think, is by Booker T. Washington. There's another play written by, should be Lorraine, called A Raisin in the Sun. There's another one called Blackface, White Masks. So there are books that have been written, and there's one novel called Roots that tells you about the struggles of black people in the United States. So for Obama to rise as an immigrant, essentially because his father was a Kenyan, to become the president of the United States, and not for only one term, for 2 terms, and he was successful, and America was proud of him. So he inspires me, and I believe, just like he said, we are the change that we seek. I believe that even here in Limuru, we the people are the change that we seek.
Right.
Great. So for those who don't know you well, where does Mheshimiwa Philip hail from?
Well, as I said, I come from this village of Kameredo. This lake, let me call it a swamp called Mbugua, is where we used to come with boys. We thank God we never drowned, actually, because we were just being boys, coming to play here.
You were one of them, jumping, swimming.
I did not swim because we didn't know how to swim, but God saved me from drowning.
Really a history.
Yes, and so Kameredo has a place in the history of this country because we have produced great people like Ngugi wa Thiong'o. When I was a child, Ngugi wa Thiong'o had the open air theater where the Kameredo Polytechnic now stands. And we used to peep through the bamboo to watch Gahikadeda. We were not allowed because of age. We were too little, but my older sisters were allowed, to get in and watch the play. Yeah, so we have a place in the history of this world, in the map of this world. Yeah, so I just grew up here like any other boy. God blessed me. I was able to pass my CPE exams and went to Lenana, which was a national school. And that also had a great impact on me as an individual. And later I managed to go to Kenyatta University, where I studied a Bachelor of Arts in Literature and Sociology. And then later I also did a Master's in Rural Sociology and Community Development at the University of Nairobi.
All right, Mheshimiwa, maybe about politics, what else do you do?
Well, I'm the Executive Director of the National Organization of Peer Educators, or NOPE. NOPE is an NGO that I started myself 21 years ago.
21 again?
When I was just as young as you are, maybe just slightly older than Wamboi Gedua, you guys. Yeah, but I started it then. And it wasn't the first organization that I started. I had started a national youth theater outreach program to educate people about HIV and AIDS. Yeah, so generally my passion is in development work. Development work entails poverty eradication, ensuring that people have access to quality health services, and ensuring that there is proper governance and accountability, and holding leaders accountable.
So that's essentially what I do. When I'm free, if I'm ever free, I wouldn't mind swimming, but not in Mbugua. Jogging a little, going to the gym, you know, just to stay physically healthy, and just sitting with friends and chatting. And if there is a comedian, we can laugh.
Great, great. So in your line of service, what projects have you undertaken in Limuru, to be specific?
I believe some time back, I thought to myself, I have gone to different countries. I've been to Tanzania, I've been to Uganda, I've been all over Kenya, even in Sudan, trying to influence the lives of young people, motivating young people, preventing unplanned pregnancy, preventing sexually transmitted infections, eradicating poverty, giving people a means of livelihood and survival. But I had never done it at home. So I got a project with ActionAid, and I deliberately decided that that project was going to be done in Limuru. And we reached very many young people. And if you were to ask people like Maina Jenga, the CEO of RFM Radio, he's one of the beneficiaries of that project. Then later we had a project called NPI, New Partners Initiative, funded by the US government. And we decided that Limuru was going to be one of the places where we would implement that project. One of our greatest mobilizers was Dongoa Siasa. You know Dongoa Siasa?
Yes.
Up to today, he talks about that project and how it impacted his life. So I have done many projects as Nope, but I've also done a lot as Philip. As I meet the people and sell my agenda, I have ensured that children who are unable to join Form 1 due to lack of school fees get the support they need. I have supported people with chronic illnesses, you know, either by contributing to them to pay bills. And I have also, you know, visited many homes to encourage them, to encourage the sick, and you know, also share my experiences, you know, globally on how we can improve life in Limuru.
Welcome back. At Epic Entertainment, we provide a platform for leaders and intellects to share their ideas to the society. And Bwana Philip, you have mentioned you have a vast experience in the NGO world. Definitely you are not a rookie, you are a veteran there. So how will you use that knowledge that you've gathered over the years to impact the people of Limuru?
Yeah, thank you. In my vision, I have 4 pillars that I believe, if implemented, can bring about the desired change in Limuru. First and foremost is community-led development. This means that we are empowering our people to lead their own development, to identify their problems, development problems, their priorities in terms of the way they want to address the problem, and then they become a part and parcel of implementing those development projects and monitoring those projects. For instance, I intend to have community-led development committees in every village, so that when we talk about infrastructure, there are people in that village who can talk about all the roads in that village. What needs to be done to improve those villages? If it's about water, if it's about agriculture and food security, it is the people who are monitoring those projects. If it is about education and bursaries, I want it to be very transparent.
And for the first time, I want the people of Limuru to have access to audited accounts of CDF so that we know where our resources are going and how they're being used. And we can ask questions, and we have the right to ask questions on how our money is being used. You know, for instance, we are told that we spent over 50 million on bursaries this time round. Yet some of us are having to pay school fees for children who've not joined Form 1. Maybe that amount of money was used. I have no evidence that it was not used. But who can verify that that money was actually used on bursaries? I want to make it easy for the people of Limuru. We are getting rid of corruption and lack of openness so that we can be able to own
our development. That's the first pillar. The second pillar is employment, because we are losing our young people to alcohol and drug abuse. And when you ask them, they say that they are doing these things because they don't have jobs. They are unemployed. And which is true, because if I walk to Kwambera right now, there are so many young people who will surround me because they are largely idle. And I want to condemn this gentleman who is saying that we are going to legalize bangi. You know, how can we legalize bangi and we know what it is doing to our young people? We want to have programs that what is it called? To mentor our young people, beginning in school, to know that alcohol and drug abuse is bad for them. It's bad for their health, and it is bad for their future. If they want to grow up into responsible adults, then they must shun alcohol and drug use. Secondly, we've got to make deliberate efforts to find employment for our young people. We cannot continue saying that there is no employment. I want to congratulate the president for bringing about Kazi Mtaani. Although this is what I would call, a stopgap measure. You know, stopgap measure means that it is just temporary. But it is better than nothing. That means that there are resources that are directly going to our unemployed youth. But I would also like to make deliberate efforts, have deliberate measures. One, there is employability. We want to support our young people to be employable by giving them the skills that they need, either to employ themselves or to be employed. For instance, those that are coming from the TVETs, there are many who are just lying after completing the course, say carpentry or tailoring or mechanics, and they don't have the tools to do the job, to start that trade that they have learned. That is the first promise I'm making, that we are going to ensure that our young people have the tools. The other complaint I had is that in our polytechnics, they use old engines, like those learning engineering, mechanical engineering, old engines that don't apply today. So we should ensure that our TVETs are adequately equipped with modern facilities to train these people to fit within the modern market. Then, if it is about CVs, you know, you can have a degree, but you don't even know how to write a CV, a curriculum vitae, or a resume. So we shall have mentorship programs to ensure that our young people know how and where to find jobs. Thirdly, we are going to have a one-day Limuru Employment Summit and Exhibition, or Expo, where we bring agents who deal with employment in different companies, both locally and abroad. And they're going to explain to our young people, where can we find employment? What do I need if I need to work in Dubai? What are the kind of jobs that are available there?
How do I get a green card to go to the United States and work there? How do I go to butter? How can I work at butter factory? What do I need? So that is one thing we will do annually, because unemployment is a time bomb. If we have so many idle people, we are going to descend into lawlessness, anarchy, and we don't want that to happen.
Sure.
Are you okay with the pillars so far?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Those are 2 pillars.
That is just a percentage of the people who are unemployed. You have people who have gone to school, gone up to masters and so on, but they still don't have work. You've mentioned that you will put up a system whereby the people will gain skills that are required in the industry. But you can see this is something which is systemic. It's there. We cannot control it just within Limuru. For example, I might say I did my studies in Nairobi. Nairobi is not within your jurisdiction as the MP. Is that right?
It's not, but I'll be a lawmaker for the nation. So any motion I introduce into parliament shall affect the whole country.
Okay.
Let me just start by talking about the alcohol and drugs thing. We said, first and foremost, we shall start a mentorship program in schools. I have worked with university students before, to conduct a mentorship program. Now I will empower the university students, the Limuru Scholars Association, to conduct the mentorship within the schools so that we produce children who already know. Secondly, is through parliament. We cannot entertain people who say that we should legalize drugs. The next thing they're going to say is that we should legalize changa. And we've seen people go blind as a result of taking those brews. So the third thing, those who are already into the problem, we've got to invest resources in rehabilitation. Rehabilitation is very expensive, but we are saying they are still human beings. They are still our brothers and sisters. I know we have members of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, here in Limuru. We also have NACADA, which is the national body that controls alcohol and drug use. By leveraging on the resources that they have, by partnering with non-governmental organizations and the private sector, I'm sure we can be able to assist those that need to be rehabilitated. I don't know, the first part of your question, Josh, what was it?
Okay, it was about the, you see, one boy, sorry.
What was the first part of your question?
It was about the people who are already learned people who haven't gotten the
Yes,
employment yet.
Very good. I was saying you can have a degree, but you don't even know how to get a job. You don't know how to package yourself so that you can get employed. One of the problems we are having is choosing too much. I was trained to be a chemical engineer, so I can only do chemical engineering in some lab. but I say, take what is available first. You've taken the effort, you've gone to school, it's opened up your mind. Take what is available first as you work towards what you aspire to do. So, and that's why I'm saying we'll be having an employment summit and expo. The summit part, you're meeting, you're even inviting the president to come and open such an event. The president or some high-level celebrity, to focus only on employment. Bring those guys with masters and they don't have a job. Then bring people who can talk about careers and where you can get employment. Bring people who can mentor them about
packaging themselves to be employed. Bring agents, employment agents, to advise them on how to get jobs abroad or locally. Does that answer your question? And then the exhibition part is those who have gone to TVES or Juakali, those who have made things, whether they have weaved them or whether it's carpentry products or whatever else young people make, or the women, let them exhibit them. It's like a show. Let them come and have an opportunity to sell them. Then we explore markets. As part of that expo, we bring potential buyers, potential middlemen who can help export those products. But if you don't focus on it, it just passes.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, from what I've heard, you must be a very cutthroat leader when given the chance. But
I will not cut any throats.
Okay, we see the healthcare cost is a first lane to poverty to many of the residents here in Limuru. So how do you suggest to deal with that?
In fact, my next pillar is healthcare. If there is one aspect of life that has impoverished families in Kenya and here in Limuru, it is healthcare, the cost of healthcare. Every weekend we attend fundraisers to help families that are struggling with hospital bills.
I thought that was against the IEBC regulations.
Yeah.
Going for fundraisers.
Well, we are no longer going for fundraisers, but you know, when I talk about we, I talk about the people of Limuru.
Okay.
You know, people will still send you cards, whether IEBC has said or not. So you know that people are suffering. So my agenda number one in Parliament is to work with fellow lawmakers, to work with other stakeholders like the Ministry of Health, the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, to look for a formula that reduces the burden of health care that Kenyans are currently facing. We have done the roads, thanks to President Uhuru's government. We've done the railways, even that expressway in Nairobi that is very imposing. So why can't we deal with our hospitals? You know, when it comes to health systems, there are some things you need to strengthen. First is called infrastructure, hospital infrastructure. Do you have the buildings? Do you have the beds? And then that also has to do with, there's also supplies, hospital supplies, the medicines, the diagnostics, you know, to detect different diseases. We have the consumables like gloves and all that stuff. Do all our wards have enough beds and bedding? Then the other one is human resources for health. The personnel, do we have adequate personnel? You know, the other day I was at Tigoni to check on my father before he passed on. Sorry. He had gone there for clinic and then something happened and he just went down. So I was called and I was trying to get information, but there was only one person. It was in the evening, only one person. She's dealing with all those people. I can't even blame her for being angry and tired because she's human. Can we have adequate human resources for health? And then the other one is leadership and governance in our health institutions. How are we administering a hospital? Is there transparency? Or are there people taking Kenyans around the corner and squeezing them? So for me, healthcare is agenda number one, legislative agenda number one if I go to Parliament. And I believe that
if we combine with other lawmakers who think like me and who are not corrupt, you know, some people just take these positions to enrich themselves. I'm assuring the people of Limuru that that's not my agenda. Yes, I believe the way the Lord's Prayer says, give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses. So that's my promise on health care.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, before we continue, what about the elderly who cannot be able to get out of their house to go to the hospital? How will you help them to get the services at their home?
Thank you very much. I took care of my father for 1.5 years because he was elderly, he was unwell, and for the 1.5 years that I stayed with him, he never stood up on his feet. So when we talk about home-based care, I know what it is because I took him to my own house so that I could be able to take care of him and lower the burden on my family here at Kameredo because I had the capacity to do it. So even now, we have gone to several homesteads, we've gone to households, and we've found elderly people who are suffering. So the first for me, every elderly person must have an NHIF cover because that helps. Number 2, we must facilitate community health volunteers to provide home-based care for the chronically ill in our homes. There should never be any person in Limuru who is chronically ill and has no support. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah.
In Limuru, we have a lot of women groups, youth groups. For example, Epic Entertainment is a youth group. So many of them aren't receiving grants. I've had many asking how Mheshimiwa can assist them in their activities. So how will your leadership be different from what we are having right now?
Thank you. Yes, I know there are many groups. There are many youth groups. There are many women groups. And there are also even men's groups. So first promise to the people of Limuru is transparency and accountability. I want to assure them that under my leadership, every coin shall be used for what it is intended. And there will be openness. There will be no hiding how much money there is. I will ensure that people understand how you can access the Women Fund, how you can access the Youth Fund, the Uwezo Fund. And then I'll go a step further. Using my experience in the development world, I will look for donors, work with the civil society and the private sector to bring in more resources to help the people of Limuru. Secondly, my last pillar is empowerment. This means enabling individuals and groups to do what they need to do in order to thrive or in order to prosper. So part of it is ensuring they have the skills. Secondly, ensuring that they have the resources. Then ensuring that they have the infrastructure and functional institutions to make it work. For instance, I have this idea of the model, you know, something you can emulate. Mm-hmm. And we start by asking ourselves, what is a model village? What must it have? Waboy, what should a model village have? If you want to be proud that you live in Bibirioni, what should it have? Yeah, a health facility. Yeah. A police station. That means there is security and there is street lighting so that people are not walking in the darkness, and our women are also free to move around without fear, women and girls. That's security. You're also looking at a nursery school. You're looking at a polytechnic. You're looking at water.
flowing water, piped water, and water harvesting, facilities, so that there is adequate water. Then I asked myself, for how long shall we continue using the pit latrines in Africa? While the Koreans are designing toilets that have buttons. You just press buttons and they do what you want them to do. So for how long are we going to have pit latrines? You go to a school and you don't even want to look at the toilet. Would you want to use such a toilet that you want our children to use? So model village must also have water and sanitation. And then, of course, schools. I've talked about nursery school. Is there a functional primary school or primary schools that you can be proud of with enough teachers, with enough facilities? That's a model village. I'm also talking about what do we need in a model town. If we want to make Limuru a model town, what do we need there? There are things that have already been done, but what is it that is lacking? Kwambera here, must it always continue to be dusty? And when it rains, it's like you are passing through a river. Must it continue being like that? So we have a model town. Then we have a model hospital, model health facility. What do you need in a model health facility? I have already explained. What do you need in a model school? Enough buildings, enough classrooms, enough desks. Children should not be running in the mud. Have you paved the assembly ground? Are there enough trees in that environment? So that's a model I would like to apply for me to be sure that I have had an impact. Roads, where are people passing? So far, you know, we've helped to repair some roads. Am I lying? Have you walked on roads that I have repaired? That's a cameraman. He can't be seen. But have you walked on roads that I have helped communities to repair? So can we have roads so that our farmers and ourselves, we can be able to go about our business without stress?
All right.
Sorry, let me just, on empowerment, let me just add about youth. There's a lot of talent in Limuru. We have sportsmen. You know, I started by sponsoring a football tournament at Waweru, and 20 teams facilitated. And we invited Ghost Mule, the national coach, and he was able to identify some talent there. But I'm also saying we are the home of Ngugi wa Thiong'o. We need to take advantage of that. We need to have a center for culture and arts and music. The youth who are talented differently can actually, be supported. Actually, my idea is when we are having the youth, the employment summit and expo, we also have something cultural. We have something to do with fashion. We have something to do with Limuru Talent Search. Limuru's got talent, and we engage our young people. And finally, ensuring that minorities are not forgotten. Persons living with disability, the elderly, women and girls, we ensure that there is affirmative action for their involvement and engagement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mheshimiwa. We are happy to meet you. With that, the 4 pillars of Mheshimiwa take us to a short break. Don't go too far. Remember, Epic Entertainment. We do things like photography, videography, live streaming, page management, online marketing. Joshua?
Graphics design, web and app development. Yeah.
Also, you can find us through all social media platforms. Tupo kila mahali. Remember to subscribe, share, comment, tell a friend to tell a friend. I'll see you.
Welcome back. Definitely, from what I've heard, you haven't started campaigning today. So what has your journey been in a nutshell? Maybe your expectations before you set out and lessons to somebody who will be going down this path in the future?
Well, I want to say that campaigning in Kenya is not an easy thing. One, I came in as a person who is relatively new to the political sphere, you know, just coming from the development world. And I had my expectations. My biggest expectation would be that I would just come and sell my policies, my agenda to the people of Limuru. Unfortunately, we are operating in a context of poverty. People are in need. In the past few years, we've had the challenges brought about by COVID-19, and many businesses have gone down, or, you know, or literally closed, shut down.
Yeah.
Jobs have been lost. Putting food on the table has become a challenge. So it is very unlikely that you will go visiting a family asking them for votes and they don't have food on the table. So that is a challenge, and it calls for a lot of financial investment. I would like to thank God first for bringing me this far. Secondly, I thank the people of Limuru for embracing me and showing me that they really want change. Listening to me, giving me the platforms to talk to them, and I haven't experienced major nasty events, except one that was politically instigated.
What was that?
When I got attacked the day the deputy president was coming to Limuru. I think I've talked about it before in some forums. That was the most nasty experience, you know, in my campaign. And I went on air and said we should avoid political violence by all means. We've seen it happening in other parts of the country, but I believe if we obey the code of conduct that we've been given by IEBC, we don't have to have incidents of violence. So I thank the people of Limuru. I thank the young people who've come out, you know, to share with me their challenges. The border guys, the women. I have attended many women's groups. The men who have also told me what they think I should do for Limuru. And I want to remind you and to promise you that under my leadership, you will have the power to make decisions. You will have the right to hold me and other leaders accountable. So I just want to humbly ask you, people of Limuru, to embrace change. This is time for change. We cannot have any meaningful change if we continue electing the same people, giving responsibility to people who have not demonstrated that they can guide Limuru to a higher level. So I humbly ask you to support me. You have heard my vision. You have heard my agenda. I have the passion. I have the confidence, the skills, and the faith to lead you. God bless you.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa. Maybe before we end up becoming the MP of Limuru, will it begin the starting of something big for Limuru or to become the entire board?
I want to believe that it's going to be something bigger for Limuru and even for myself, because if I demonstrate that I can lead Limuru and show tangible results, why wouldn't the nation want to be led by someone with such commitment and such passion and such integrity? So this is just the beginning.
All right, so when you become the MP, you maybe become even the governor?
Yes, and even the president.
Amen.
Who said no? By God's grace, I'm ready to go where God takes me. If God wants it to end in Limuru, just to bring about change in Limuru, I will be happy to do my best
for the people of Limuru.
Right. Josh.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. For our viewers, we've come to the end of the show today. And maybe you can give your final remarks as you close the show, and maybe ask the viewers to subscribe to our services, and also tell them where can they find you, social media, maybe a phone number, if you don't mind, email. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Epic Entertainment, for hosting me this afternoon. I wish you well, and I want to assure you that under my leadership, the youth like you will access the relevant support to help you grow. Secondly, for the viewers, you can find me on Facebook at Waweru Mbugua, and on Twitter is Mbugua. Thank you very much. And if you want, go to our offices in Limuru. We are at the Kirk House on 3rd floor. Asanteni, Mungu awabariki.
Asante.